Well, after the recent flooding destroyed homes on the Garden Isle, some might not even be allowed to rebuild. And county officials say as a result, now is the time to review and make sure that whatever is built safely. Gina Mangieri, always investigating, and has the latest on the story from Kauai.
I'm here in Hanalei on the island of Kauai, where this priceless view is what helps these homes command multi-millions of dollars along the ocean front. But take a look what Mother Nature does when flooding comes through in epic proportions. This home on Veke Road in Hanalei is near an ocean in front, a river in back, and now a pond and fish underneath after the disastrous flood tore through the town. The vacation rental even has a name, Kaloko, a deadly flood from more than a decade ago. Miraculously, this month's island-wide floods spared life but took land, both private and public.
It's like the whole of Veke Road, Kauai, became a levee. What happened was the whole town that was flooded drained out through Veke Road at Black Pot Beach.
Now officials say they don't want to take more chances.
As far as we're concerned, I think it's time for us to reassess and see what should be rebuilt. Is this an opportunity for the county to, claim some of those lands?
Claim in what way?
In the way of eminent domain, and in fact, maybe take possession of these properties for the safety of the public.
How might that affect everyone from a longtime Kama'aina homeowner who lives out there to someone who has a multi-million-dollar property that might say, if you're coming with eminent domain, it's going to cost you?
Yeah, and again, I use that word, I don't know without looking at the damage assessments and really the safety concerns. I think everybody's kind of concerned right now because it's fresh. But it's time that we reassess.
Much of the local families aren't living on Veke Road, quite frankly. They're in a much higher area, and for zoning purposes, it's relatively easy. But being that we experienced this catastrophic event of flooding, the flood manager does have to assess whether or not they're going to have to increase flood requirements on these type of structures.
The county just 2 months ago wrapped up a list of federally flagged flood deficiencies that they'd been after property owners about. It took about a decade to get through it all.
But what has happened since the initial inspection and now, it's like 10 years. I don't know if after 2008 there were more violations
Right.
that we're not aware of. I cannot answer to those.
It's highly likely the flood lines themselves could be redrawn.
It's very unusual to allow building in the floodway, if at all.
Yes.
And so if a new floodway is defined based on the floods, then there is some question whether they'd be able to rebuild.
Yes.
It was a monumental amount of water moving through that area, which is, one has to think, is going to change the manner in which the flood levels are being set at home, that homes are required to meet. How that assessment is being made isn't quite in my division, but we can anticipate those changes being made, that even the local families will have to meet in order to ensure that their homes are not affected 20, 30 years down the line.
More than 25 years ago, after another natural disaster, the island did not fully seize the opportunity to build with more resilience, a lesson learned, officials say.
After Iniki, the council and the administration, they passed the law. It was called the Iniki Ordinance, which allowed people to build back to what they had. I don't envision that happening again. I think these structures now are going to they're going to be under scrutiny.
Already, some owners are itching to stretch mayor and governor emergency proclamations to cover rebuild right on the same floodplain footprint. Some houses along Veke Road date back to the early 1900s. Even some newer ones were built before some ordinances that later declared this a hazardous area.
We're trying to explain to them and to the public is that, especially in these coastal areas where there was that hazard zone, we are not waiving any regulatory requirements that would essentially require you to set your house back further away from this hazard zone. So we can regulate it in a manner that protects or mitigates in as much as ways possible, or as much as ways feasible, to ensure the protection of life and people in that area.
We'll be following up to see what comes of the rebuilding and land use issues in these most fragile areas. Reporting from Hanalei, Gina Mangieri, KHON 2 News.